Hi, I'm Amy Rotruck, author of the Young Wizards Handbook, How to Trap a Zombie, Track a Vampire, and Other Hands-on Activities for Monster Hunters. I'm illustrating how to make a monster catching net. You'll see there that red thing tipped over. That is a chair. We used a doll's chair for this demonstration just because it was a little smaller and we were able to make a net in a quicker amount of time, but you can do this with a full-size chair. You start out with a piece of string and you tie it across the top two legs of the chair. You can see I'm doing that right now. You want to make your knots fairly tight. You don't want it to be sagging. It doesn't have to be super tight like a bowstring, but tight enough that it doesn't sag when you're working on it. Now here I'm measuring out string to form the vertical lines of the net. You want to you do a double line. You loop it over the top, and you want to make it a little longer than the chair. You'll see I did maybe a few inches longer. Now you cut a bunch of strings for the chair, depending on what size chair you want. You have a larger chair, of course you need more strings. Here I'm just going to cut a couple because we were pressed for time when we made this demo. Didn't want to take up a lot of time while doing that. I think I ended up doing 4. Okay, it looks like I have all the strings cut there. Now you take each string one at a time and you fold it in half like you see there. You have the little loop at the top. You put the end with the loop under the string across the two legs, and you pull the other end of the string through the loop. That forms a knot that's called a lark's head knot, if you are familiar with knots at all. And then you do that with all the other strings, spacing them evenly across the top line of the chair. If you're wondering why we're doing a voiceover, this was filmed at ALA and there was quite a bit of background noise, and we thought it would be nicer for you to actually understand what I was saying while demonstrating this. There I'm doing the last string there. We ended up with 4. Okay, once you have them all, you want to space them evenly across the top line of the chair. Now, you separate the first string. You put the one that's along the outermost edge over to the side. You'll use it later. Then you take the next 2 strings, working your way from left to right, and you'll see that forms a little triangle there. You tie the strings together. There you have a little triangle shape. Then you take the next 2 strings, working your way along the chair. You do the same thing. There's another triangle. Then you take the last 2 strings. You put the one that's on the right side over to the side. You won't use it on this particular row. You tie those strings into another triangle. So you have 3 triangles here. Again, if you're using a larger chair, you will of course have more triangles. Now, for your next row, you take the string that you set aside on the previous round and you tie it to the next string over to the right. Now you'll see that also forms a triangle, or what I think of it as a half diamond, and you'll see why in a moment. When you take the next 2 strings and tie those together, you end up with a diamond shape. If I move there you can see there's a little diamond shape. So you have your half diamond and then your diamond. And you do the same thing, just work your way across, tying them together. There's another diamond, and then you tie the last 2 strings together, again using the string that you set aside from the previous round. So now you have a row of diamonds. And you just keep working that pattern throughout the whole chair. You just tie each string to the next one, working your way down. Now this is a very good net for catching monsters and things of that sort. This is a very small net, which makes it very portable. It's good for catching small monsters like pixies, or if you happen to have a little beholder like the one shown there. It's good for that. Or if you need a larger net, you can of course use a larger chair. Or if you happen to know an enlargement spell, you cast the enlargement spell on your net and make it as big as you need for whatever monster you happen to be hunting. Now we don't demo this here, but one thing you can do also for monster catching nets is tie different materials into the net for different types of monsters, like things like bits of silver for werewolves, little cloves of garlic for vampires. I've found that if you soak the net in salt water, that makes it a pretty good one for catching ghosts, which are not always catchable. Now we're starting to get to the end of the net. I like this just because it's a fun, easy project. Really doesn't cost a whole lot. You just need yarn or string of any sort. Very good project to do with kids, a group of kids, or just one. Now I think that was the last row of the net. Okay, now to finish off your net, you do what you did at the very beginning. You cut a piece of string long enough to tie around the bottom two legs of the chair this time. And again, make it fairly tight, but it doesn't have to be ridiculously taut. Now once you have that string tied across the bottom two legs, you take the ends of the strings from the net that you've made and you tie them to the bottom string, just using an overhand knot. And you work your way along the net until you have all the strings tied. I think that's the last knot to be tied. As you can see, this is a very quick project. I'm looking at the time on this video, and you can make this little net in under 10 minutes. Once you're done, you remove it. You can either cut it off the legs or just slide it off. And you see you have your little net. And if you want to catch a beholder, like I'm doing here, you just throw it over. And beholders, if you want to really confuse them, you can tuck flowers that look like eyes, things like daisies or chicory, and that really confuses the beholder. And you can see that poor little beholder's caught in the net. It's not going anywhere. Well, thank you for watching. That was How to Make a Monster Catching Net by Amy Rose Rotruck. Thank you.